This young man was sent to prison in 1876, and today I will tell you his story. George Ernest Boseman was born in 1858 in Neathrup, Oxfordshire, to Jonas and Lydia Boseman. His father was a labourer and his mother a needlewoman. Sadly, his mother passed away in 1869, and his father was left with 4 young children to take care of. In 1876, he was arrested for stealing 40 pounds of potatoes, the property of William Woodhull. James Hartley was employed by Mr. Woodhull. He sorted the potatoes into 6 sacks. He left the yard and locked the gate. On the following Tuesday, his attention was called to the sacks, and he noticed they had been interfered with and potatoes had been taken. PC Edwin Harris of the County Police Station of Roxton said that on Monday evening, about 8:15, he was on duty in company with PC Norcott when they saw the prisoner coming towards them with a bag across his shoulder. As soon as the prisoner saw the officers, he turned his back and ran away with the bag on his back. The prisoner slipped into Crown Yard. He then ran up Foundry Street, and the witness and Norcott followed him. They lost him, however, in some gardens. They then went back and looked in Crown Yard, and the bag of potatoes were produced. They apprehended the prisoner the following day, but he denied all knowledge of the affair. On the way to the police station, the prisoner said, "I don't know how it was I got away from such excellent runners." The jury found the prisoner guilty. 4 previous convictions were recorded against the prisoner, to which he pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 6 months with hard labour. In 1881, he married Mary Brain. They had a son Fred in 1880 and Richard in 1882. But in September 1882, he was again in trouble with the law. This time, he was charged with stealing a rabbit, the property of William Hutt. He was sentenced to 14 days imprisonment. In October 1884, there was a serious charge of using a knife. George Newman, Mary Ann Boseman, and Harriet Mulby were brought up in custody, charged with unlawfully and maliciously cutting and wounding with a knife George Boseman. Harriet was the daughter of Mary Ann, and there had been a family argument brewing for some time. George Newman had burst in the house, and a scuffle broke out involving all those named. George left the house and returned with a knife, and as the scuffle finished, George noticed he had been cut on the wrist and the hand. All of them were charged, and George Newman was sentenced to 1 year in prison. In 1884, he was in trouble again, this time for maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm upon Edward Scase. He pleaded guilty to striking the prisoner, but with no malicious intention, and a plea of not guilty was therefore entered. After a trial, he was sentenced to 18 months imprisonment with hard labour. But his life of crime didn't stop there. In 1888, he was charged with assaulting his wife. It said George Boseman, known as Peggy, was charged with assaulting his wife at Neathrup on May 16th. Defendant, in answer to the charge, said he was dumb to it, which he repeated several times. The magistrate said he had better speak English. Defendant then pleaded not guilty. It was said he came home drunk. He knocked her down and kicked her while she was on the ground. Several of her teeth were knocked out and her face was bruised. Defendant said his wife was a very dirty woman. Complainant said she did not wish for the defendant to be punished. She only wished him to be bound over to keep the peace. In the end, he was sentenced to 6 months hard labour. In 1893, he was in trouble for stealing Swedes, and later in the same year for stealing rabbits. It would seem he stayed out of trouble after this point, or there are no newspaper records available. He worked as a market gardener, and the family lived at 5 Boxhedge Lane, Banbury. His wife Mary Ann passed away in 1925, and George in 1930, aged 72. So rest in peace, George. You will be remembered.